The movie opens with a young drug lord named Priest, who pays a visit to his friend Liddy at a celebration for Liddy's new car. During the party, Priest confronts Liddy about an unpaid debt. Liddy tries to act tough, but Priest intimidates him by revealing he knows personal details about his family, forcing Liddy to back down. Liddy pleads for more drugs to sell and repay the debt, but Priest refuses, taking Liddy's car keys instead. Priest then reflects on his life, describing how he's been hustling on the streets since he was 11 and has grown his empire across the city. The focus shifts to another drug gang, the Snow Patrol, led by Q. They're shown living extravagantly at a nightclub, highlighting their wealth and power. Priest arrives at the club and joins his two girlfriends, Georgina and Cynthia. Q invites Priest to join their table for a drink. Although their conversation is polite, Juju, one of Q's associates, expresses distrust toward Priest, calling him a rival. Q dismisses Juju's concerns, stating Priest hasn't wronged their gang. As Priest leaves the club, Juju spots him outside and hurls insults. Priest initially tries to walk away, but Juju persists, escalating the situation. When Juju reaches for his gun, Priest retaliates, disarming Juju and his crew. Amid the chaos, Juju accidentally shoots a bystander. The Snow Patrol members quickly flee, while Priest offers the injured woman cash to cover her medical expenses, assuring her she'll be fine. The next day, Priest meets his close friend Eddie. As Priest arrives, he notices Fat Freddy and inquires about Eddie, who's busy gambling. Priest interrupts Eddie's game to discuss an urgent matter. Annoyed, Eddie's opponent protests, but a show of guns silences him. While driving, Priest recounts the altercation with Juju and expresses his frustration. Eddie, angered by Juju's actions, wants to retaliate, but Priest advises against it, emphasizing they need to avoid drawing attention or starting a war with the Snow Patrol. Priest also shares his plan to leave the drug trade after one final major deal, which Eddie doesn't fully support. Priest insists and says he'll approach his mentor Scatter to increase their drug supply. Later, Priest visits Scatter at his gym. While sparring, Priest asks Scatter to double their supply. Scatter warns this could attract police scrutiny, but Priest remains adamant even as Scatter refuses. Meanwhile, Q scolds Juju for shooting the bystander and targeting Priest. He orders Juju to cover the damages before leaving. Juju returns to a salon only to be ambushed by masked assailants. Several Snow Patrol members are killed, but Juju escapes. It's revealed that Fat Freddy orchestrated the attack. Priest and Eddie begin tracking Scatter, suspecting he's meeting with his suppliers. They follow them to Texas, where Scatter meets Alberto, one of the Gonzalez brothers. Priest and Eddie tail the suppliers to Mexico. Priest decides to follow on foot, but is soon caught. On a plane, Alberto confronts Priest about his intentions to undermine Scatter. Priest claims he's ambitious and tired of Scatter limiting his potential. When Alberto threatens him, Priest cleverly shifts the conversation, bringing up Alberto's strained family dynamics. Flustered, Alberto nearly ejects Priest from the plane but reconsiders after Priest promises to bring him more success. Alberto agrees to triple the supply but warns Priest to ensure everything runs smoothly. The next scene takes us to Priest's family home, where he recalls his mother's warnings about staying away from Scatter. She had even kicked him out when she discovered he was dealing drugs. Returning to the present, Priest enters the house, retrieves a bag stuffed with money, and proceeds to sell the property. As he and his crew count the proceeds from the sale, Cynthia informs him that the Snow Patrol was attacked. Meanwhile, Q and the Snow Patrol gang purchase caskets for their fallen members. Juju, seething with rage, vows to retaliate against Priest for the hit. However, Q dismisses Juju's accusations, pointing out that it wasn't Priest's style to carry out a loud attack. Later, during a shooting practice, Priest confronts Eddie about the Snow Patrol ambush. Eddie admits that he ordered Fat Freddy to carry it out. Enraged, Priest scolds Eddie for sparking a war, emphasizing they could have avoided conflict. Eddie argues that Juju would have retaliated eventually and insists he couldn't let Juju's actions go unanswered. Priest warns Eddie never to make decisions behind his back again. In the next scene, Mayor Atkins delivers a campaign speech at an art gallery Priest had purchased for Georgina. After the speech, the mayor thanks Georgina for her contributions and attempts to flirt with her, but she rejects his advances. Later, Georgina asks Priest why she needs to maintain ties with the mayor. Priest explains that they might need the mayor's influence in the future and urges her to stay the course. She unexpectedly arrives at the gallery and Georgina tries to send him away, but Priest steps in. The two men head downstairs for a private conversation. Q asks Priest if he orchestrated the attack on the Snow Patrol. Priest denies involvement, claiming he wasn't even in town that day. He adds that if he had wanted to retaliate against Juju, he would have handled it personally. When Q inquires about Eddie, Priest covers for him, saying Eddie was with him at the time of the ambush. Satisfied for now, Q leaves. In the following days, Priest and his crew successfully distribute their cocaine supply, generating massive profits. Alberto, however, cuts ties with Scatter, no longer interested in dealing with him. To celebrate their success, Priest takes Georgina out for dinner, reassuring her that he'll take care of her and that their freedom is within reach. He later throws a house party to mark their accomplishments. During the festivities, Eddie praises Priest for his strategic brilliance, noting how smoothly everything is running. Priest notices Eddie's $600,000 wristwatch and advises him to avoid flaunting such wealth, urging him to keep a low profile. Elsewhere at the party, Fat Freddy approaches Eddie, requesting cocaine to sell. Eddie initially refuses, but eventually gives in after persistent pressure, handing Freddy a small amount. The next morning, one of Freddy's side chicks visits the Snow Patrol and reveals that Freddy was at the scene of the ambush on the day of the attack. Snow Patrol uncovers Fat Freddy's involvement in the ambush. Juju and the gang plan to intercept him, but they abort their mission when a cop arrives. The officer pulls over Freddy and his girlfriend, discovering cocaine in their possession. Freddy and his girlfriend are taken to corrupt officers Franklin and Mason. Under pressure, Freddy's girlfriend exposes Freddy's criminal ties and implicates Priest. After obtaining the information, Franklin executes both Freddy and his girlfriend. Priest's crew is devastated by Freddy's death. Soon after, Mason and Franklin confront Priest, coercing him into collaboration under the threat of exposure. Reluctantly, Priest agrees. After they leave, Priest learns Eddie had supplied Freddy with the cocaine, sparking a heated confrontation where Priest nearly strangles Eddie. Georgina advises Priest to flee the country and abandon the cocaine trade, while Cynthia urges him to stand his ground and fight back. Priest opts to leave, converting his cash into cryptocurrency. At Freddy's funeral, the corrupt cops show up to collect their cut. Afterward, Scatter confronts Priest, revealing he knows about Priest's plans. Scatter forces Priest to drive and takes him to meet Alberto, accusing Priest of plotting to exit the business. Priest denies the accusation, but Alberto executes Scatter upon discovering his betrayal and threatens Priest, declaring there's no escape from the drug trade. Things escalate when Snow Patrol, led by Juju, attacks Priest's mansion. Cynthia fights back but is killed in the chaos. Priest and Georgina use fire to fend off the attackers. In a dramatic car chase, Juju crashes and injures himself, while Hugh dies in a separate car accident. Later, Eddie approaches Juju and the Snow Patrol, feigning allegiance and offering to reveal Priest's hideout. Eddie leads them into an ambush by the police, where Mason kills Juju. It's revealed that Eddie's betrayal was a ruse to help Priest eliminate their enemies. Priest thanks Eddie for his loyalty. Priest then confronts the mayor, blackmailing him with a compromising tape to secure political leverage. Meanwhile, Alberto's mother discovers evidence of his betrayal of his brother and kills him using the alkaline hydrolysis machine. Priest sets Mason up for arrest on cocaine charges and brutally beats Franklin to avenge Freddy's death. The story concludes with Priest and Georgina escaping to Montenegro, free from their enemies and living peacefully on a cruise. Eddie remains behind to manage the business, fulfilling Priest's ultimate plan for freedom. As they part ways, Priest and Eddie bid each other farewell. The end. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to subscribe for more.